The warning, the discovery. Alina Vasquez pressed her palm against the viewing port of mining station Kepler-7, watching the massive gas giant Titan III rotate slowly beneath them. Its storms painted beautiful swirls of purple and gold across the planet's surface, but Alina wasn't admiring the view. Her attention was fixed on the sensor readings that had been bothering her for 3 days straight. "Still getting those weird energy spikes?" asked Jake Morrison, the station's communications officer, as he floated up beside her in the low-gravity section. Alina nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the planet's glow. "Every 12 hours, like clockwork. But there's nothing on our charts that could be causing it. The energy signature doesn't match any known technology." As the head mining engineer for the remote station, Alina had seen plenty of unusual readings. Over her 8 years in deep space, cosmic storms, solar flares, and equipment malfunctions were part of daily life this far from Earth. But this was different. The energy pattern was too regular, too purposeful. "Could be interference from the mining operations," Jake suggested, though his tone suggested he didn't believe it either. Alina shook her head. "I've run every diagnostic twice. Our equipment is clean. This is coming from somewhere else." She paused, studying the datapad in her hands. "Actually, I think I've triangulated the source. It's coming from grid section 7 Alpha. Jake's expression grew concerned. "That's the debris field. Command classified it as off-limits after the initial survey, I know." Elena's voice carried a note of determination that Jake recognized. It was the same tone she used when she decided to solve a problem, regardless of regulations. "But if there's something out there affecting our operations, we need to investigate." The derelict 3 hours later, Alina guided her single-pilot exploration craft through the twisted wreckage of what had once been a massive space battle. Chunks of unknown metal drifted silently in the void, some larger than city blocks. The energy readings grew stronger as she navigated deeper into the debris field. "Kepler-7, this is Scout 2, she reported over the comm. "Energy signature is definitely strongest near the center of the field. I'm reading some kind of structure up ahead." "Copy that, Alina," came Jake's voice, crackling with static. "Be careful out there. We're already pushing communication range." Elena's breath caught as her ship's lights illuminated what lay ahead. It wasn't debris, it was a ship, but unlike anything in human or known alien databases, the vessel was enormous. Easily 3 kilometers long, with flowing curves that seemed almost organic. Most remarkably, it appeared to be intact. "Jake, are you getting this video feed?" Alina whispered. "Negative. Scout 2, you're breaking up. Last transmission was garbled." Alina realized she was on her own. The smart thing would be to return to the station and report her findings. But the energy readings were off the charts now, and something about the alien ship called to her. She brought her craft alongside what appeared to be an airlock. Inside, the ancient ship, the airlock cycled with surprising efficiency, suggesting the ship's systems were still partially functional. Elena's suit readings showed a breathable atmosphere inside, though she kept her helmet sealed. As she stepped into the alien vessel, her flashlight beam revealed corridors, lined with crystalline structures that pulsed with faint internal light. The architecture was beautiful but alien. Curved walls seemed to flow like frozen water, and strange symbols covered every surface. Alina moved carefully, her magnetic boots clicking against the deck plating. The energy she'd been detecting seemed to emanate from deeper within the ship. As she progressed through the vessel, the crystalline structures grew larger and more complex. Some were clearly damaged, their light flickering weakly. Others had gone completely dark. But in the central chamber, Alina found something that made her stop in wonder. A massive crystal formation dominated the room, easily 20 meters tall. Unlike the others, this one pulsed with steady, strong light. As Alina approached, the crystal's glow intensified, and somehow she began to understand. The warning, the knowledge came not as words, but as images and emotions flooding directly into Alina's mind. She saw the history of the Crystal Builders, an ancient race called the Jeldari. They had been explorers and guardians, protecting younger civilizations from a terrible threat that moved between the stars. The images showed the enemy, creatures of pure malevolence that the Jeldari called the Devourers. They consumed not just planets, but entire civilizations, leaving nothing behind but empty space. The Jeldari had fought them for millennia before finally creating this warning system, hiding it in the debris of their last battle. Alina understood that the crystal was not just a recording, but a test. It was searching for a species worthy of carrying the warning forward. The Jeldari had been dying out when they created this message, hoping that someday another race would find it and take up their mission. As the visions faded, Alina found herself changed. The knowledge of the coming threat burned in her mind, along with the understanding of what she had to do. The Jeldari technology had marked her somehow, given her the ability to replicate their warning system. The desperate act Alina returned to her ship with a piece of the crystal technology, her mind racing with plans. She couldn't simply report what she'd found. The bureaucracy would take years to act, and she'd seen in the visions that the Devourers were already moving toward human space. Instead, she began modifying her ship's hull plating with the alien technology. Working with desperate efficiency, she carved symbols into the metal, each one infused with crystalline material from the ancient ship. The symbols weren't just decoration. They were a network, a beacon that would activate when exposed to the right energy patterns. As she worked, Alina's ship's proximity alarms began blaring. Something was approaching through the debris field, and it wasn't from her mining station. The sensor readings showed ships unlike anything in human databases, moving with predatory purpose. Alina finished her work just as the first enemy vessels emerged from the shadows of the debris. They were sleek and dark, seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. She recognized them from the visions, advanced scouts for the Devourers. Her ship's engines roared to life as she fled toward mining station Kepler 7. But Alina knew she wouldn't make it. The enemy ships were faster, more advanced. As weapons fire began to light up the space around her, she made a final, desperate decision. The beacon activates Alina overloaded her ship's reactor, creating an energy surge that activated the symbols she'd carved into the hull. The effect was immediate and beyond what she'd expected. Instead of simply sending a message, the symbols created a resonance cascade that spread to every piece of metal in the surrounding space. The alien warning began appearing on the hulls of the enemy ships, burning bright with crystalline fire. But more importantly, it spread to the debris field itself, turning the twisted remains of ancient battles into a massive beacon that could be seen. Across light years, Alina's ship was destroyed in the explosion, but her sacrifice achieved something remarkable. The beacon's signal spread faster than light itself, carried by the same exotic physics that the Jeldari had mastered. Across human space, the warning began appearing on ship hulls, space stations, and even planetary installations. At first, humanity thought it was some kind of cyber attack. The strange symbols appeared everywhere, carved into metal as if by invisible hands. But those who studied the patterns began to understand their meaning, the same way Alina had. The message was simple but urgent. The Devourers come. Unite or fall. The network forms over the following months. Humanity began to realize that Elena's warning was more than just a message. The symbols created a connection between every ship and station they appeared on. Commanders found they could communicate instantly across vast distances, coordinating movements with impossible precision. Scientists discovered that the crystalline technology didn't just enable communication, it provided protection. Ships bearing Elena's warning proved resistant to the exotic weapons and mind control technologies that the Devourers employed. The symbols created a kind of psychic shield that preserved human free will. As reports came in from the outer colonies of attacks by unknown vessels, humanity began to take Elena's warnings seriously. The woman who had died trying to save a mining station had actually saved the entire species. Her desperate act had given humanity the tools they would need to fight an enemy beyond their understanding. The mining station where it all began was evacuated and converted into a memorial. But Elena's true monument was everywhere humans traveled. Her warning, carved into metal across the galaxy, had become the foundation of humanity's survival. *. The legend 50 years later, Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, studying the holographic display that showed the battle formations of 300 human vessels. Each ship bore the crystalline symbols that had first appeared on his Aunt Eleanor's mining craft half a century ago. What had begun as a desperate warning had evolved into humanity's greatest advantage. "Sir, we're receiving confirmation from all fleet commanders," reported Lieutenant Sarah Park from the communications station. "The neural link is stable across all vessels. We have perfect coordination." Marcus nodded, though his expression remained grim. The enemy fleet approaching their position numbered in the thousands, led by massive ships that seemed to bend space around them. The Devourers had finally arrived in force, just as Elena's visions had predicted. "Status report on the defensive grid," Marcus asked. "All colonial defenses are online and linked through Elena's network," came the reply from the tactical officer. 14 core worlds, 68 colonies, and over 1,000 space installations are ready to coordinate their response. Marcus couldn't help but feel pride in what humanity had accomplished. After Elena's sacrifice, the human race had unified like never before. The warning symbols had not only provided protection and communication, they had created a shared purpose that transcended national and corporate boundaries. The Devourer fleet, as the enemy ships moved closer, their true nature became apparent. They weren't just vessels, but living extensions of the Devourer consciousness, organic and mechanical elements, fused into nightmarish forms. Each ship was unique, incorporating elements consumed from previous civilizations they had destroyed. "My God," whispered the tactical officer, "some of those ships, they're using Jildari technology. And that large formation on the left, those look like the vessels from the Centauri Republic's lost fleet." Marcus grimaced. Intelligence reports had suggested that the Devourers didn't just destroy civilizations. They absorbed them, turning their technology and sometimes even their people into extensions of their hive mind. It was a fate worse than death, and exactly what Alina had tried to warn them about. "Sir, incoming transmission from the lead Devourer vessel," reported Lieutenant Park. On screen, the main display filled with an image that challenged human sanity. The being that spoke for the Devourers was a writhing mass of organic tissue and technological components with elements that had once belonged to dozens of different species. Its voice was a harmony of screams. "Humans," it said, the word dripping with contempt. "You have delayed us long enough. Your resistance ends now. Submit to absorption, and we will make your extinction swift." Marcus straightened his uniform and looked directly into the alien horror. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the United Earth. Fleet, I speak for all of humanity when I say, we will never surrender." The battle begins. The Devourer response was immediate and overwhelming. Weapons that twisted space itself lanced out toward the human fleet, while clouds of smaller vessels swarmed forward like angry insects. It should have been a massacre. Instead, something beautiful happened. Elena's network activated fully for the first time, connecting every human mind in the battle. Not just the ship crews, but every person on every world, every station, every outpost. For one shining moment, humanity became a single organism with a unified purpose. The defensive response was perfect. Ships moved in patterns too complex for any individual human to coordinate, but simple for a species acting as one. Weapons fired in synchronized volleys that created interference patterns, amplifying their destructive power. Most importantly, the crystalline shields held against even the Devourer's reality-warping attacks. "Impossible," screamed the Devourer. "Collective. No single species has ever resisted our neural dominance protocols." Marcus smiled as he felt the thoughts of millions of humans flowing through his mind. "That's because we're not acting as a single species anymore. We're acting, as Alina taught us, as guardians of something greater than ourselves." The turning point, the battle, raged for hours, with neither side gaining a decisive advantage. The Devourers had superior numbers and technology, but humanity had something they had never encountered before: willing unity. Every human sacrifice empowered the network, making the survivors stronger. But it was Marcus who made the connection that changed everything. As he felt Elena's presence through the network, he realized that his aunt had left more than just a warning. She had left a blueprint for victory. "All ships, implement pattern Elena 7, Marcus commanded. "We're not just defending anymore. We're hunting." The human fleet suddenly changed tactics, using the network to identify and target the key nodes in the Devourer collective. Every species they had absorbed was still present in their hive mind, and Elena's technology allowed humans to communicate with them directly. One by one, absorbed civilizations began to remember who they had been before the Devourers took them. The enemy fleet began to tear itself apart as countless species fought for freedom within the collective consciousness. Elena's true gift, as the Devourer fleet crumbled, Marcus finally understood what Elena had really given humanity. It wasn't just warning them about the enemy or providing them with defensive technology. She had shown them how to be more than human without losing their humanity. The network didn't just connect human minds, it connected human hearts. Every person felt the weight of their responsibility to protect not just their own species, but all life in the galaxy. They had become what the Jaldari had been, guardians who chose to sacrifice for others. In the aftermath of the battle, representatives from dozens of liberated species approached the human fleet. Races that had been consumed by the Devourers for millennia had been freed by Elena's network. They wanted to join the new Galactic Alliance to help spread her gift of unity to other civilizations. The legend lives years later. Elena Vasquez's story was told on thousands of worlds. Children who had never seen Earth knew about the mining engineer who carved a warning into her ship's hull and changed the fate of the galaxy. Her symbols appeared on every vessel in the new Galactic Protectorate, a reminder of the sacrifice that made their freedom possible. Marcus, now Admiral Chen, stood in the memorial chamber built around Elena's original mining station. The crystalline formations that had once powered ancient Jeldari technology now pulsed with the combined consciousness of millions of species working together. She never wanted to be a legend, he said to the young cadets who had come to pay their respects. Elena just wanted to save her friends on the mining station. But sometimes the greatest heroes are people who do what needs to be done, regardless of the consequences. One of the cadets, a young woman from the recently liberated Tau Ceti colonies, raised her hand. "Admiral, do you think Elena knew what would happen when she activated the beacon?" Marcus smiled, feeling his aunt's presence through the network that connected all life in the galaxy. "I think Elena knew that sometimes a warning becomes something more. Sometimes it becomes hope." The crystalline symbols on the memorial pulsed brighter, as if responding to his words. Across the galaxy, billions of beings felt that pulse and remembered the human who had chosen to sacrifice everything so that others might live. Elena's warning had become legend, and her legend had become the foundation of a better universe. In the depths of space, new threats stirred and ancient enemies awakened. But they would find the galaxy no longer defenseless. Elena Vasquez's gift had ensured that no civilization would ever face extinction alone again. Her warning, carved in desperation on a mining ship's hull, had become the battle cry of every species that chose freedom over surrender. The legend lived on, etched into the heart of the galaxy itself. Asterisk,